Hello everyone, my name is Brent. I've been a Resident Evil fan for the better part of 2.5 decades. I've played all of the mainline numbered entries plus Code Veronica and their respective remakes, and I've gotten to experience the launches of those mainline entries since the release of the original Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube. With the recent release of Resident Evil 9 Requiem, I sort of re-fell in love with the Resident Evil series. I hadn't had that much fun with an original Resident Evil numbered entry in a long time. After completing the Platinum Trophy for Resident Evil 9, I had this sort of empty feeling inside of me as if I wasn't quite ready to leave the world of Resident Evil behind. Over the past several years, I've come to enjoy collecting Platinum Trophies. So, I decided to reevaluate getting the Platinum Trophy for Resident Evil 2 Remake. After deducing that the game wouldn't be too crazy to Platinum, I made up my mind that I'd go for it. Although I plan on talking more about it later, getting the Platinum Trophy isn't the point of this video. While replaying Resident Evil 2 Remake, I was reminded just how much I love this game and the series as a whole, along with a few things that I feel like they could have done better to truly make Resident Evil 2 Remake a perfect experience. So, in this video, I want to take a look back at Capcom's Resident Evil 2 Remake.
You alright?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks.
You can thank me later, when we're safe.
Holy shit.
Since this is a video specifically about the remake, I don't want to dive too much into the original Resident Evil 2. Furthermore, it's been over 20 years since I last played it, so my memory of the game is rather limited. I still have my copy of the original around here somewhere, but unfortunately it's banged up to all hell, and one of the discs doesn't even play anymore thanks to a childhood friend of mine f***ing it up. Anyway, what I do remember, and what like most people remember, is that it's the game that introduces Leon S. Kennedy, who would eventually become Resident Evil's poster boy, and Claire Redfield, the sister of Resident Evil 1's STARS member, Chris Redfield. Resident Evil 2 came with 2 discs which allowed the player to experience Leon and Claire's stories through different scenarios, which would change how certain parts of the story would unfold depending on which character was the A character and which character was the B character. With that very brief look at the original, let's get to the remake. Despite a few rumblings that a remake of Resident Evil 2 was in development, it was officially announced at PlayStation's E3 2018 showcase. In the teaser, you see what would eventually become the opening moments of the game, as seen through the eyes of a rat. Some folks online thought this was a cool detail since rats are what initially spread the virus throughout Raccoon City. Leon is revealed, and then several cinematics are shown revealing Claire, Sherry, and Ada's silhouette. Resident Evil 2 Remake would also be the second game that'd be built using Capcom's RE engine, which debuted with Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 2 would launch in January of 2019 to rave reviews, securing a 91 score on Metacritic. Resident Evil 2 Remake, in my opinion, is what a remake should be. Remakes are meant to bring older games to the modern era of gaming by creating a brand new experience that honors the original experience. If the experience can't be or isn't changed, the game isn't ready for a remake. I'm looking at you, The Last of Us Part 1. Look, I love The Last of Us, but that was such an unnecessary remake. Anyway, I digress. This newer version of the game abandoned the fixed camera angles from the original and would adopt the third-person perspective gameplay style that was first introduced in the original Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 2 Remake would continue its survival horror roots, which was brought back in Resident Evil 7 a few years prior. This meant that players would have limited inventory space along with limited ammo and health items that could be collected. These kinds of things would require the player to closely manage their inventory and sometimes force the player to abandon certain items in favor for other items or find an item box to store things in so that way they could go back and pick up important key items. Throughout the course of the game, things will become easier for the player, such as getting more powerful weapons and expandable inventory space, allowing the player to carry more things. Like in most other Resident Evil games, there's a crafting system for both health items and ammo, along with being able to upgrade a few select weapons. In typical Resident Evil fashion, Resident Evil 2 Remake has several puzzles that must be solved in order to progress to the next area. Inside the RPD, the game has you collecting medallions, which act as keys that will allow you to enter the underground parking garage and jail cells of the police department. To acquire these medallions, you must solve a few simple puzzles located on statues that are spread out around the large building. In order to solve these problems, you have to pick up notes which will have clues to each statue's code. However, sometimes the hints are only partially available or the dials on the statues are scratched out, so you're forced into a small guessing game. Other minor puzzles scattered around the game are the safe and locker combinations that typically lead to more inventory slots and gun upgrades, along with minor rewards in the lockers being more ammo, health, and gunpowder. The game will also have you collect other key items such as special keys, wrenches, and other tools which allow Leon and Claire to gain access to certain areas that will typically have a piece of a grander puzzle. Although these puzzles are generally pretty easy, they are part of the Resident Evil experience and part of the fun of exploring each of Resident Evil 2's main environments. except for the chess puzzle in the sewers. Maybe that was just me, but that one always gives me problems.
Oh no. Jesus, stay back!
Similarly to how Resident Evil 7 has a stalker villain with Jack Baker, Resident Evil 2 has another stalker villain with the Tyrant monster Mr. X. If memory serves me correctly, in the original Resident Evil 2, Mr. X only appears in the B scenario. Now the monster plays a much larger role, being introduced about a third of the way through the A scenario and right at the beginning of the B scenario, and also serves as Leon's final boss. Mr. X's mechanics are cool because when he spawns into an area, he'll move around that specific vicinity looking for you, even though he may not be on screen. After a while, he'll despawn, but will respawn near you if you're making too much noise, whether it be running around or using your weapon too much. His despawning and respawning can be entertaining and not always make a lot of sense. There were a few occasions where I ditch him, and then he'd reappear in front of me in an area that would be impossible to get to in relationship to his last known location a few minutes prior. Mr. X is a lot of fun to navigate around for a while, but after some time, he does start to become a nuisance. The first time I played Resident Evil 2 Remake, I remember thinking that he was a cool monster who added a lot of tension to the game. But when I started collecting what was needed to get to the bell tower, it seemed like he was always around and he was always in my way, especially in the library. I had similar feelings this time around while working towards the platinum. However, due to my familiarity with the game, it was a lot easier to manage. All in all, Mr. X may be somewhat of an annoying enemy, but he adds great tension inside of the police department, especially during your first playthrough of the game.
Hello? Is anybody here?
As you try to escape the infected city and uncover the truth behind the outbreak, Resident Evil 2 Remake has you exploring the Raccoon City Police Department, the city's sewers, Nest, along with a short period of time inside the Raccoon City orphanage, with these settings being significantly expanded upon from the original. Along with that, the sewers and RPD are seamlessly interconnected, with you being able to start at one end of the RPD and go all the way down to the end of the sewers without hitting any sort of glaring loading screen. You can easily get lost and sidetracked as you spend time exploring these revamped areas. And because, in my opinion, the RE engine is the best engine on the market in regards to what it can do with photorealism, the character and environment designs look incredible and bring to life this horror classic in amazing new ways for a new generation of Resident Evil fans, while still honoring the feelings of tension and isolation from the original for the older generation of fans such as myself.
More like running.
Yeah, good call.
Leon, you gotta back up. What the?
Holy shit. There, get out. Get out now!
As far as the story goes, it's simple. Leon and Claire fight to survive as they hunt for a safe way out of Raccoon City. There are some differences between Leon's campaign and Claire's campaign.
I want to find out what's happening here and stop whoever's behind it. Helping people like them? That's why I joined the force.
My mission is to take down Umbrella's entire operation. We may not make it out.
Whatever it takes to save this city. Count me in.
Leon's campaign has him meeting and assisting another iconic character, Ada Wong, who claims to be an FBI agent trying to get a sample of the G-Virus. During a portion of the game where Leon is down and out, you take control of Ada and more or less play a somewhat puzzly section of the game where you use an EMF device to get out of the sewers and chase after Annette Birkin, who's one of the scientists behind the G-Virus. Although Leon fights the G-Virus infected William Birkin versions 1 through 3 the same way Claire does, as mentioned, his primary and final boss is Mr. X, where at the end of the game, after you've lost the G-Virus to Ada and trying to escape Nest, you fight him one last time.
Hello? Hey. It's okay. I won't hurt you, I promise.
Do you need help? Here, you can take my hand.
You need help.
I'm sorry, I can't understand you.
You need help.
Why?
Claire's campaign is a lot more focused on the Birkin family, since the primary objective of her story is to help get the young Sherry Birkin safely out of Raccoon City, with Claire's final and primary boss being William Birkin version 4. Similarly to Leon's campaign, Claire's does switch to another character as well. For a short period of the game, you play as Sherry as you look for a way to escape the Raccoon City orphanage without getting caught by the sinister Chief Irons. This particular section of the game is my least favorite part of it. I also didn't like the orphanage part in Resident Evil 9. These segments sort of suck the fun out of the room for about 15 minutes. Both A-scenario campaigns end with the two protagonists reuniting on the train out of Nest. There are some minor unique encounters in each campaign, such as Leon running away from a giant mutated alligator and Claire escaping the orphanage while being chased by Mr. X. Resident Evil 2 Remake also adopted the A and B scenario format that was present in the original. The A scenario would see Leon or Claire enter the police department through the front door and meet Lieutenant Marvin Brana. The exchanges with Brana are different depending on who meets him. With Leon, Brana recognizes him as the rookie, and with Claire, there's acknowledgement of Chris Redfield and his whereabouts. The A scenario would also have you spending significantly more time in RPD before meeting Mr. X, while the B scenario would have you enter from the side of RPD and encounter Mr. X and a zombified Brenna a lot sooner. Between the two scenarios, there's also varying degrees of differences in what weapons can be acquired, puzzle solutions, and enemy placement. The only difference with the ending of the A and B scenarios is that the A scenario will sort of just end abruptly with the two characters reuniting on the train that's leaving Nest, while the end of the B scenario has the character fight G version 5 on the train. The ending of the B scenario will also have Leon, Claire, and Sherry walking down a long road away from Raccoon City, with this acting as the true ending of Resident Evil 2 Remake.
So, are you guys like boyfriend and girlfriend?
No, we're just... Well, we actually just met last night.
Yeah. That would have been one hell of a first date, though.
Unfortunately, outside of the minor differences that I just mentioned, there really isn't anything that's too different between the two characters' campaigns and their respective A and B scenarios. You encounter versions 1 through 3 of William Birkin's G-Monster at the same points of the story, solve the same puzzles despite the solutions being slightly different, and go to all the same places. This is part of the game that's always been frustrating to me because you basically are playing the same game twice, with the exception of a few different cutscenes and the secondary character that you play as for 15 minutes. This frustration is further exacerbated when in Resident Evil 9 it is revealed that Leon A and Claire B are the canon scenarios. Minor spoilers for RE9 incoming. Skip to this timestamp if you want to avoid the spoilers. In Resident Evil 9, when Leon enters the ruins of RPD, he gets flashbacks of him speaking with Lieutenant Brana. These moments are only seen in the Leon A scenario. Don't get me wrong, I know that the Leon A and Claire B scenario has seemingly been mutually agreed upon over the years as the canon playthrough by the community, but having that official confirmation in Resident Evil 9 is frustrating to me because Resident Evil 2 Remake could have been much more than what it is by solidifying this as truly canon. If Capcom had known this was going to be the case during the development of Resident Evil 2 Remake, they should have only done a single scenario with Leon entering through the front and Claire entering through the side of RPD. By doing this, Capcom could have made a single fully canon story that consisted of a truly different and unique experience that could have been tailored to both Leon and Claire and what was going on in their respective times in Raccoon City, and it wouldn't have basically been the same game twice. To play devil's advocate, Capcom probably didn't know at the time that they would eventually make Leon A officially canon, but it doesn't change the fact that it is now canon, and in my opinion, Resident Evil 2 Remake slightly suffers because of it. Now, enough about that. Let's talk about the Platinum Trophy. Because I like to be honest and transparent on this channel, before I talk about getting the Platinum Trophy, I want to point out that this Platinum has an asterisk on it. When I booted up the game, I realized that I had purchased some DLC a while back that gave me bonus stuff right off the bat. These bonuses included the unlockable modes and bonus infinite ammo weapons. So I used that stuff during a few of my more challenging playthroughs because f*** it, why not? If I paid for it, why not use it and embrace being part of the problem? Anyway, I had a lot of fun getting the Platinum Trophy in Resident Evil 2 Remake, even though I technically cheated using the DLC stuff. And even though I had the DLC, there were still some challenging trophies that needed to be earned that I didn't use the DLC weapons for. My first playthrough back, I did a Leon A and Claire B run without using anything special, where I went through and got all of the collectibles, such as finding all the files and the Mr. Raccoon bobbleheads. I used this playthrough to get my bearings back with the game. After getting all of the collectibles, I did my hardcore S plus runs using the bonus weapons to help me get through them because I'm good, but not that good. My Leon Plus run was also used as my 14,000 steps or less playthrough. Shout out to Neon Slice for the assist because there's no way I could have played this game in under 14,000 steps without a guide. By the time I got to Claire's S plus run, I had the game pretty much memorized, so I got through hers pretty quickly, and I didn't need to worry about my step count. Both of these S plus hardcore runs were intense, but were still pretty easy with the infinite rocket launcher. However, these were a cakewalk compared to the fourth survivor.
Need info on my extraction.
Guess there's no keeping down the Grim Reaper, huh?
My extraction point.
Relax, Mr. Reaper. I'm headed toward the front gate of RPD. Pick you up there.
Got it.
The fourth survivor has you playing as Hunk as you attempt to escape Raccoon City. This challenge mode is the true survival horror experience of Resident Evil 2 Remake. Your inventory starts you off with the only items that you can use in your run. This means that there are no items that can be picked up as you make your escape. If you run out, you're SOL. These items include a shotgun, pistol, magnum, and submachine gun, along with some ammo, gunpowder, and a few combined herbs for getting your health back. You start off in the sewers and you essentially navigate up and out of the sewers and into the RPD parking lot. Then you make your way through RPD where all of the normal ways you can get out have been blocked off. This forces you to navigate the whole RPD where you eventually get out and rescued. On paper, without seeing it for yourself, it seems easy enough, but it's a lot harder than it looks. At least it was for me. There are more enemies everywhere and you have limited supplies. The goal of this challenge mode is just to get out. There is no time limit. You just need to get out using what you have from the start. Completing this challenge mode for the Grim Reaper trophy was easily the hardest trophy I had to get, but after a few attempts and getting the lay of the land, I got it taken care of.
Why'd you come back?
I wanted to meet the Grim Reaper.
From the start, I knew that the Grim Reaper trophy was going to be challenging for me. I'm not particularly good at challenge modes like that, so I chose to get that done before doing my final 2 runs of the game. For my last Leon A and Claire B runs, I decided that for Leon, I would do the Minimalist trophy, which meant that I couldn't use the item box, but could heal as much as I wanted. And for Claire, I did the Frugalist trophy, which meant that I couldn't use healing items, but I could use the item box as much as I wanted, which meant that I could access the DLC bonus weapons. These final runs were such a catharsis after the intense hardcore S Plus and 4th Survivor runs. I played them both on casual difficulty and ran through Raccoon City as a badass. By the time I was done, I had the Platinum Trophy. 7 years later, Resident Evil 2 Remake is still a fun game to return to. Especially with the current gen upgrade, the game still looks and runs as smoothly as ever. The game is filled with all of that nostalgia, whether it be entering Raccoon City Police Department or encountering Ada Wong again for the first time. The game is filled with memories from my childhood and teenage years. I've been with these characters for a long time, and it felt good to return to their humble beginnings. And whether you love them or hate them, I'm especially grateful that it exists because it paved the way to have the remakes made for Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil 4. Walking around a fully fleshed out 3D version of RPD as photorealistic versions of Leon and Claire and fighting through a lumbering, erratic, bullet-spongy zombies and other monsters, Capcom made an almost 3-decade-old survival horror classic into a brand new game for the modern era. Although it's a shame that Capcom didn't fully solidify Leon A and Claire B as the canon playthrough by adding fully new and unique things to each respective campaign, it doesn't take away from how much fun the game is, and because the game is so good, this minor shortcoming, in my opinion, can be easily overlooked. As previously mentioned, it was a lot of fun being able to return to Leon and Claire's origins. I know it's cliche to say this, but both Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield are my favorite characters of the series, and I hope that someday we get to see Claire again in a new game, even if it's just in a cutscene or something. I also hope that the rumored remake of Code Veronica is real, so that way we can see more of this particular version of Claire Redfield. I personally believe that every self-respecting Resident Evil fan should play the original Resident Evil 2, but since Resident Evil 9 establishes the Leon A and Claire B scenarios of the remake timeline as the now canon timeline, starting Leon and Claire's story with Resident Evil 2 Remake is totally fine. With the return of Leon as a main character in the recent release of Resident Evil 9, if there was ever a time to return to Resident Evil 2 Remake, now's the time to do it. Anyway, that's it for me for today. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps us out a lot. I look forward to seeing you all on the next one. In the meantime, take care.
So, is it over?
I don't know. But if it's not, we'll stop it. Whatever it takes.
Yeah, you're damn right we will.
As long as we stick together, we'll be fine. Come on.
Hey, you guys can can adopt me.
Adopt you.
We can get a puppy
Puppy.
and a parrot.